One question I seem to get from you guys in the comments of my videos and on Twitter and on Twitch live streams and everywhere, that it's worded differently every time, but a lot of you guys often ask me something along the lines of, why do I still play League of Legends? You give your own personal example and talk about how, you've moved on to Overwatch or you've moved on to Heroes of the Storm or whatever new popular multiplayer exciting game just came out recently. You talk about how either you've sort of stopped playing League of Legends as much, or sometimes you say you've quit League entirely and you still watch my videos and you mean it as a compliment, which I like that a lot. That's a really flattering thing to hear, and I appreciate those sorts of compliments. But it sort of made me wonder, why do I still play League of Legends? Actually, you guys don't really ask me why do I still play League that much anymore. You just talk about your own experiences. But I've been asking myself this lately. Why do I still play League? I started playing League in October of 2010, almost 7 years ago now. Why am I still playing this game? And why haven't I gotten hooked on Overwatch or Heroes of the Storm or whatever the new multiplayer popular thing is to play at the time? And I think I've come up with a little bit of an answer that I want to share with you guys today that I think is a little interesting. In my opinion, if we're going to summarize it in a single sentence, in my opinion, League of Legends does a better job than any other multiplayer video game I've ever seen of giving a specialized team experience similar to something you'll see in a traditional sport, but in a video game format. So let's go ahead and explain what I mean by that. There's plenty of video games out there that give team-oriented experiences now, esports, stuff like Counter-Strike, Overwatch, League of Legends, Dota. But League of Legends and Dota, I guess MOBAs in general, but League is obviously the one that resonated with me, do a much more interesting thing in specializing the roles that a team will play, right? In Counter-Strike or Overwatch, there are definitely different roles, and there's definitely different specializations, but there's a lot of basic mechanics that a player has to have. If you're playing a first-person shooter like Counter-Strike or Overwatch, you have to be good at pointing and clicking. There's definitely, there's some, in Overwatch in particular, there are some heroes where they don't, Mercy doesn't have to be as accurate with her aiming because it sort of hones it, her healing hones in on teammates and all that. But there are some basic things that every player needs to have when picking up the game, and that's something that you can draw parallels, some kind of interesting parallels in my opinion, to traditional sports with. If I were to say my two favorite sports of all time, like the most favorite sports of every sport I've ever played or watched, it would probably boil down to American football and association football, or what I will refer to in this video as soccer. Sorry, Europeans. Now, these are two sports that are, two of the most popular sports. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world, and in America, American football is the most popular sport here. And they're both incredible sports. I mean, anyone that's a fan of any of these, you can really talk about something magical, whether you're talking about old players and how the sport has developed over the years and how the game has developed and the strategies and everything, or you talk about rivalries, or you just talk about beautiful plays that you see happen. I mean, these are sports that they definitely have their flaws and their drawbacks, but they both create some really exciting special moments that you will carry with you for the rest of your life if you're lucky enough to see one of them happen live. Now, if I had to pick a favorite between the two, I would probably have to pick American football. And the reason is American football is a more specialized team-oriented sport than any other sport I've ever seen. Now, sports, there's definitely specialization in all sports. If we're talking about soccer, I am not suggesting that you can go and play a center back, a defender, at a striker or a forward role, or put him on the wing or something, and expect him to do well. You can't just mix and match players and expect them to perform incredibly well. I mean, that's what Jurgen Klinsmann did, and that's what got him fired, right? I mean, but that's something that's not, I'm not suggesting you can do that and find success. But similarly to some of the other video games I was mentioning, if you were to take a look at things you need to have to be a successful athlete as a soccer player, you sort of need a basic few things regardless of what role you play. For instance, you have to be able to have the stamina to run up and down a pitch for 90 minutes. I mean, that's something that regardless, unless you're a goalie, I guess, regardless of what position you play, you have to be able to run up and down a pitch for 90 minutes. Some players need to be faster than others, and some players need to be more resilient than others. I mean, if you're younger, you can obviously be subbed off if you're super young or super old or something, but you need to be able to have that stamina, and that's something that a lot of people don't properly value. You underestimate that a lot. A lot of the American sports analysts that just say that, oh, we would be the kings of soccer if we sent all our best athletes into the world of soccer. They just assume that, we take really physically fit, muscular guys and you put them on a football pitch and then they'll be able to perform well. But that's not true. One of the reasons that it's pretty incredible to watch someone be a top soccer athlete is you have to have the muscle and everything to be strong and to win the ball in a situation, but you also have to not have too much muscle that it weighs your body down, because muscle is heavier than fat. Muscle is a pretty heavy thing, and you'll run out of breath if you're putting LeBron James on a football pitch. He's gonna run out of breath pretty quickly trying to run up and down a field for a full 90 minutes. I'm sort of getting a little bit sidetracked here, but the point I'm trying to make is there are some basic things that you need regardless of what position you play. For instance, you need to have that stamina. Another thing is you do need some strength. You need strength to win the ball, whether you're winning it as a defender or whether you're muscling to make sure that you keep the ball as an attacker with a defender trying to tackle you. You need some pretty basic strength while still being quick. And you also need to be quick. You need to be fast regardless of what position you play. Some players need to be faster than others, but you need to have some speed to chase down the ball, to chase down an attacker if you're playing as a defender, or to chase down a through ball if you're a forward trying to get in behind a back line. And you can see this if you look at players, look at their builds. They're all, pretty muscular, but nothing too ridiculous. They're still relatively thin, they're quick, and a lot of, you don't see weight fluctuation through soccer players or anything like that. Whereas, if you take a look at American football, it's a completely different story. And American football is really interesting because not only do you have to be specialized in the role that you play, in that you have to have different knowledge or different skill sets as someone, you're focusing on different things depending on what position you're playing, but you have to be a different kind of athlete depending on what position you're playing. For instance, one of the most interesting positions in American football, in my opinion, is offensive linemen. These are the big fat guys. The guys that weigh 300, 310, 315. They weigh over 300 pounds on average, but they're some of the most incredible athletes you'll ever see. The average speed that a offensive lineman can run, one of these 300-pound guys, the average speed that they have is 15 miles an hour. That's like 24.8 or something kilometers per hour. That's incredibly fast to run when you weigh 300 pounds and you have all this fat on you and all this fat and muscle. They have to be incredibly quick. They have to be fat. They're fat for a reason, and they also have to be incredibly strong. For a play, they have to be able to get up. They have to get their hands up. They have to be incredibly quick with their hands and their feet to block a cornerback or a safety or a linebacker or a defensive lineman coming and trying to get the quarterback. And it's one of the most important roles in the entire game. If you have a good offensive line, sometimes it doesn't even matter how good your quarterback is or how good your running back is, how good the backfield is. A perfect example of this would be the 2016 Dallas Cowboys, they were the number 1 seed in the NFC with a rookie running back and a rookie quarterback that, not to take anything away from Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, but a lot of people were saying you could put any backline in their feet in the backfield, or you could put anyone in their backfield, and they would do incredibly well because they had such a good offensive line. The offensive line is an incredibly interesting thing to watch from a sports perspective because they aren't simply built to be the most muscular, thin, and physically fit guys. They intentionally are overweight because they have to be overweight because it makes it better. There was a rule that was introduced in the 80s where you can't block below the waist. So this means that the more top heavy you are and the more fat and muscle and mass, you cultivate all this mass and you're incredibly difficult to get around when you're blocking. It's a really interesting role. Now, take that role and compare it to a wide receiver. Completely different skill sets. When you're a lineman, you need to be quick, but you need to be fat, and you need to be big, and you need to be strong. Whereas if you're a wide receiver, it's the complete opposite. You need to be really lean, really quick, not a quick sense in moving your body quickly and sort of like playing as if you're a sumo wrestler. You don't only need to be quick with moving your body, you need to be able to sprint fast. Sprint incredibly fast, and also you have to be agile. You have to be able to run a route. A wide receiver runs routes where they try and shake the defense, the guy that's defending them. They have to, run and then act like they're going left and then cut right, and in a very convincing way, in a sense where the enemy defender will be shaken off and they can get wide open, catch a ball, touchdown. Like, that's an incredibly different skill set from a lineman, obviously, and they obviously need hand-eye coordination to be able to catch the ball. I mean, when you're a wide receiver, I played wide receiver myself when I played back in middle school. You not only have to be able to catch a ball the way that you would catch a ball if I was to throw a ball to you right now, but you need to be able to run a route, turn around, looking for the ball, and by the time you turn your head, the ball's right here. The ball is maybe 6 feet from your face sometimes, maybe 5 feet, 3 feet. It's right there. You need to be able to turn and immediately catch it. Turn, immediately locate the ball and catch it. It's a very intense and exciting thing to watch a wide receiver run a route, shake off a defender, make a good catch, and then sprint down, outrunning everybody, sprint down the defense to get a touchdown. I'm getting worked up just talking about it, and you can obviously tell these are two very different, very specialized roles, where you could take a wide receiver, a top wide receiver today, and you could give him 10 years, you could give him however long he wants to build all the muscle and get fat and everything to try and be an offensive lineman, and he would never be a great offensive lineman in the NFL. Similarly, you could take a great offensive lineman, a young guy, a 21 guy, let him lose the weight, let him try and get fast, try and turn him into a wide receiver. It would never happen. And this is true for almost every single role in the game. Whether you're talking about a defensive back, a wide receiver, a running back, a tight end, offensive lineman, quarterback, all of these roles have different objectives, different things that they need to focus on, different ways they need to build their body to be a proper athlete. Whereas a quarterback, you want to be lean. It doesn't really matter as much if you're quick or you got to be able to move around in a pocket, but you just have to have good arm strength and good accuracy. But other than that, you have to be incredibly smart, being able to read a defense, make good decisions, throw accurate balls, audible. A lot of exciting stuff. I'm nerding out a little bit about all this sports stuff, and it's probably losing you guys. So let's bring it back to League of Legends. If you take that and you compare it to League of Legends, it's the exact same thing. Maybe not the exact same, but think about it this way. I'm a top lane main, and I'm a good, quote-unquote, top laner. A lot of you guys call me bad. I know. I'm hard stuck low diamond. We'll get past it, but as of now, low diamond, still top 1% of players out there. Still, on average, I think you would probably say that's kind of good. So I'm a kind of good top laner, but I cannot play AD carry or support effectively. The role that I play and the things that I do in my role, those champions cannot be played as AD carries or supports. If I were to try and play them as AD carries or supports, they could not fit into that role in the traditional sense. Even if I were to try and play an AD carry or support, I have muscle memory and things that I naturally want to do in team fights and in laning phases that I shouldn't be doing if I'm playing that role, because these are such specialized roles. It's an incredible talent for some player to be able to play every role at the same level. There are basic things in League of Legends that you can, you got to be able to click your mouse fast. You got to be able to look at your mini-map. There are some very basic things that everyone needs to be able to do, the same way that, if you're playing American football, you got to be able to have muscle, you got to be muscular, you got to be, strong in one way or another. But the specialization that you have and the different focuses that you're going to have on the game, depending on what kind of person you are, what kind of player you are, and more specifically, what role you're playing, it's so diverse. That's not something I think I've ever seen in another sport ever. I mean, or another esport. I mean, it's so exciting. I love it. I love it so much. I love American football. I love all sports, and I love League of Legends and esports. It's so exciting and thrilling watching these players develop and devote their lives to learning all the details and nitty-gritty things about how to play this one specific role in this one specific way correctly, and then seeing them perform it with all these other people that have devoted themselves to these other roles that, you know, they don't know the nitty-gritty about each other's roles, but they are still able to come together and perform something beautiful in a game of League of Legends the same way that exact same thing happens in a traditional sport like American football. And the specialization in particular is something that I think I really like and I really identify with, which is why League of Legends has captured my attention for so long, and why I don't think I've ever lost the attention for more than a day, and why I don't see myself quitting the game anytime in the near future. Anyway, I kind of wanted to make this rant and talk about this stuff. I mean, I could talk about this stuff forever, and I kind of wanted to share it with you guys today. There's so many things that just make it so interesting and thrilling. Another thing being like the mixture of the 1v1 component with the team component. Like, that's something you see in traditional sports. If you're watching a cornerback wide receiver matchup of like Josh Norman, the best cornerback in the NFL, up against Odell Beckham Jr., arguably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, that's an exciting 1-versus-1 matchup where you're going to see these guys talking trash to each other on Twitter after the game, regardless of who won or lost, but it's still a team game. They're still going to be trying to win for their respective teams, whereas that's a similar thing that you see in League of Legends. Going into an esports match, if Bjergsen is playing up against Faker, then people are going to be excited talking about how Bjergsen's going to do against Faker, even if you know SKT is going to destroy TSM in a best-of-5 or something where SKT is clearly the better team. You're still excited to see that matchup and see what happens. It's so exciting. Sports are the best, man. Sports are the absolute best, and I wanted to share that with you guys today. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed watching today's video. A little bit of a weird one, but I'll be back with more gameplay of League of Legends tomorrow. Until then, though, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.